Comicon in San Diego was happening last week, and Veve was actually a part of the Marvel booth itself. So for an overall perspective on it, was it a success? Did it flop? Is this good for the long run with Veve? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome everyone, my name is Andy and I appreciate you taking some time out your day to come watch this video on the channel. Just before we get started, if you are enjoying the content and you want to support me further, you can hit that subscribe button, and if you want to support me further than that, you can join the membership. We've been talking about marketing for Veve for quite a while now. You know, what they could do with their marketing, how they could actually play it out, how they could increase their downloads through this sort of stuff, how they could get a lot of new people into the app through it. And this is probably the first time we've had an ability to mass market what Veve actually is, because when we look at, you know, the attendance rates of things like Comicon, it was around 135,000 to 150,000 tickets that were sold back in 2020 when the coronavirus was happening. Of course, it was cancelled then. At this time, people were able to get the tickets that they'd actually purchased for that and were able to go back. So we're probably sitting above 100,000 people at least over the weekend actually going to visit what Comicon was as a whole. Whether they went and visited Veve in that section of Marvel is a totally different story, but it is great nonetheless to have this form of marketing. And with the millions of followers that Marvel has on their own social media apps, and them expressing that all throughout the weekend, especially being at Comicon, then it's another route into seeing the visibility of what Veve is, what it has to offer, and allowing people to want to get into something like this. But now if you look on Marvel.com, they actually announced that Veve was having a sort of area in itself that could do that, and you can see some of the pictures on the screen of what Veve were able to do and the places that we are. The Marvel Mighties were there. I also had the opportunity to talk to some of the people about what Veve was, and was displaying some of the drops that were happening this weekend. So it's definitely a place and an introduction to what Veve are, and I was really excited by this. Now, I know a lot of people were expecting massive gains and massive expectations on what Comicon was going to bring, but one thing I always want to reiterate is how early on in this journey we are. Remember, for the most people that you talk to right now, whenever you hear NFTs, it's still going to go to the back of someone's mind that this is terrible, no one should actually own any of these, this is horrible, why is anyone doing this? And that is the consensus I still tend to get, even when I do explain it in a different way. You know, they're on layer 2, they're actually partnered with the biggest companies in the world. It starts to slowly convince them. And this, in a sense, is the beginning of slowly showing people the value that stuff like this can actually offer. I believe Randy in some of his live streams actually went up to the physical collectors and was asking about AF15 if that were to drop on Veve, and a lot of them didn't really like it. And Sleeping Comics has talked about this a little bit more, where they're not going to like it in the beginning because it's new, it's different, and if they've spent their whole life collecting physical comic books, and then for it to be released on a digital platform, that's probably going to be quite a heavy hitter, and especially quite a big change to their own narrative that they've followed for the last 40, 50, 60 years of their life, depending on what route they are when they're purchasing these types of comics. Let's have a look then at maybe the Google trends when it comes to Veve or Ecomi, just in general, to see if there was any change in the number of searches that were happening over this period of time. When I went on to Veve and looked in the United States in the past 90 days, there has been some form of increase in the searches. Now, of course, there are some spikes here and there. We tend to get a lot of ups and downs just depending on what it was. When we do come to the weekend, with July 24th being the last data point that we actually have for this, it was significantly higher when it came to the number of searches. And we can see for the subregions, Florida and California being the two states that were actually the most searched when it comes to this. And again, if we go Veve worldwide, there's not really been that much of a change when it came to the searches. Yes, we've had some spikes here and there over the last 90 days, but there wasn't some amazing, incredible jump that had happened. This is going to take some time to actually develop and show the real results that we're looking for. That area might not matter to you that much. Google searches might not be the be all and end all for what people are doing. So let's look at the gems purchased as well as the number of wallets that have been changing over this period of time. We can see here from the weekend, the 2 points that we had discussed last week about the 1.1 million and the 1.4 million, there has been rumors about the crypto actually being sort of manipulated and used in a malicious intent. That's why they've stopped the crypto stuff at the moment. So after that had been stopped, we can look at the weekend. We saw 331,000, 267,000, 321,000, and 432,000 on the last day of Comicon. And with that, when we're comparing it to the other dates, you know, beforehand, it's not really that much of a big spike. So we haven't seen massive increases in gems being purchased in the app, not a massive increase in people actually purchasing themselves. And again, if we look at the number of wallets that have been increased increasing since this period of time. Looking at about a month apart, we have actually had a decrease in the number of wallets have been there and collected on Veve, with minus 400 wallets overall in the last month, which again is quite interesting to look at. It's interesting to see that this is the case where the number of wallets decreased over the length of time that Comicon went on over the last month. This can probably be related back to accounts that weren't KYCing, accounts that have been banned, that sort of stuff, and accounts that have just been trying to sell off everything before KYC comes into place. So I'm guessing we're actually going to see more of this happening, where there are going to be a lot less wallets holding certain collectibles, purely because KYC will no longer allow you to sell on the market after the 30th of this month if you haven't done KYC by that point. From all that, we can see that Comicon didn't actually change a lot of factors when it came to the gems purchased and the number of wallets that were being added. Of course, there could be some external factors in relation to that, and it's something that we're going to discuss a little bit more. Now, one of the things that I'm thinking of when it comes to external factors is when you download an app, pretty unlikely to instantly put money into this app to then buy things. It's not something that tends to happen unless you're extremely convicted in what's going on. And as I've discussed before, NFTs, premium digital collectibles, however you'd actually like to put them, is still a very hot topic in the world that we are living in right now. You're seeing day after day tons of these companies shaming on NFTs, shaming on the companies, shaming on the premise of what they're actually trying to build, and it's probably taken a lot of people away from it. So I'm guessing they had a fair few people come up to them saying that they don't like NFTs, they don't like what they're doing and all that sort of stuff. I'm guessing if people have downloaded the app, and they're most likely going to be waiting for things that they're really excited about, things that they're wanting to see. As the Comic-Con drops at the weekend, although were okay, they weren't exceptional. They weren't something like the Disney Golden Moments. It wasn't something like the first appearance of Spider-Man or Batman or Superman. The first appearance of Silver Surfer was fantastic. I love that. It's great. But again, there's not really been much that was so hard hitting, it would be stupid not to get in the app and actually spend your money. Kelly once again comes in with the amazing data collected about Veve itself, and was saying on, I think, the Wednesday leading up to Comic-Con, they'd actually had 2,000 downloads on the day. This has decreased since and it has went down, but this spike in downloads, as you can see on the screen, is obviously a lot from what we've had previously. Really, really cool to see that there have been some spikes. People were talking about it, people were downloading the app. Again, this could probably come from a lot of other varying factors when it comes to KYC coming into it, the credibility of the company, something we discussed in last week's video, and a lot more. There could be other areas playing a part in that. But yet again, it's good to see that there is some form of talking points, there's some form of spike in any of the data points itself for that. Kay actually talked about this on Twitter yesterday and then made a video last night, so I'd recommend going to check them out. Kelly and Kay's video will both be in the description for you to check out, where they talk a little bit about these topics further. But Kay was talking about the interest of consumers within NFTs in 70 different countries, territories worldwide from December 2021 to May 2022. Now, this is basically just looking at the data of who's searching NFTs, who's consuming that type of content. And when we see on the screen right now, the majority of people that Veve are currently targeting are nowhere near this. All of the top ones are Asian countries where a lot of the collectors actually lie. And Kay talked about when he went to Dubai, he saw that there was advertisements for NFTs. They were really pushing for that. And of course, they're trying to become one of the top countries in the world. People really want to go where the wealth is, all that sort of stuff. And we can see from here the search interest of these places. I mean, the main people and the main target audience that we have for Veve right now is Europe, English-speaking countries, Australia, Canada, America. And on here, we only see Canada and Australia actually being active in the top 10. We don't see the UK, we don't see the US, we don't see any other European countries. We're only seeing Canada and Australia at the bottom of this list. We are not the main target audience for NFTs, consumers, and collectibles just yet. Kay was putting up some points of how Veve could actually be a massive, massive player in these fields if done correctly, and everything needs to be done in dead set first before that's the case. The Asian market is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to the ability of growing your company. And the fact that Veve also have Alfred Kahn, the person who was able to bring Pokemon to the Western world to be able to accept what it was and is now one of the biggest companies in the world, it's putting me in good faith and good understanding that this could be an amazing, amazing play if done correctly and if done at the right time. Because as of right now, I don't think the app's ready for it. I don't think certain things in place like the MCP, OUP are there yet, and they need to be in order to bring more people in to gamify it. We've been here for so long and we've been talking about it for so long that we believe in the company, but Anyone who's just coming into it for the first time probably won't. Anyone who's just seen a Marvel Mighty for the first time and you're only able to just collect it and not gamify it in any way when you can see all the other things they can do online, might not believe in it that much. But imagine a Marvel's Mighty game in the future, which is something that was teased. I don't actually know where it was, but you could actually use things like the Marvel Mighties where you could scan the QR code and it could be a part of that. There's going to be gamified things in the future, and right now I think it really is about building consistent foundational processes. Kelly in her video talked about Netflix and their exponential growth over the last 20 years from when they had started. And again, it was a marathon, not a sprint, and just like any company, it's going to be that. It's going to take time, it's going to take dedication, and it's going to take consistency. Where a lot of these projects are going wrong or are going to go wrong is not abiding by the law, is not actually following through with all the things that they're talking about, and is not having the right team behind them that's actually going to be able to execute. Of course, there are problems with Veve and Ecomi in general that they've not been able to execute in recent times, but we have been seeing some things moving forward, and we have been seeing them strive for better foundational processes over the last maybe 3 or 4 months. Seeing all of this then, there's a lot of data I threw at you. Do we believe that Comicon was an overall success for Veve or not? Personally, might be against the curve here, but I think it actually was a success because this was the first opportunity to truly market their product to a wider audience. It was the first insight. Some of the things we talk about in business are the number of touches that you have with a customer. And usually, in order for someone to buy, it can be between 5 to 12, where you have to be in contact with them or they have to see what the value is between 5 or 12 times before they actually commit to trying it for the first time. So Comicon could have been the first time that someone actually had the opportunity of seeing what Veve was, seeing what they offered, seeing what they had. And this is the first time they've been able to set up their own booth where they can talk about it. Now, there are definitely a few things that they could do better, and I put a little bit of a list here where potential higher value characters for the drops, rewards for people who scanned the QR codes that were there where they would get their first free drop, and also in the future, the ability for KYC members to actually send collectibles to these people, because I think it would be awesome for someone to tell them, download the app, I'll send you this collectible as your first collectible, and you can sort of try it out, see what you like about it, and join the community. And again, that builds trust, that builds customer loyalty, and it's not being directly sold to you by one of the actual owners, it's being sold to you by the people who are active and involved in the community. This is something I'll love to see at Decon. I'm actually going in September down to London, because I do hope that they add the transfers again, where I can talk to some people about downloading the app, getting on it, and then I can give them their first collectible, just to see what it's about and to see them enjoying it. If it's something they do like, then great, maybe they'll tell other people about it and grow the community itself. If not, then that's fine too, as they'll move forward and probably have the potential to see more of it happening over the next decade or so. Twitter was crazy all throughout the weekend with Comicon. I saw so many people tweeting about Veve, what they were doing, and again, those little things actually do add up. Comicon was the ability to market a product on a mass scale and the ability for first-hand experience of seeing what it's like to market their product like that. There was going to be some failures, there was going to be some ups and downs, and that's okay. That's how we learn and move forward. But to me, I think it's a great step in the right direction that marketing is actually starting to appear more and more. We're seeing them get booths within the Marvel part, and we're seeing them push forward with some of the deadlines that they had set quite a while back. I'd love to hear your thoughts overall. I think I'm being a little bit too positive with it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so definitely put them in the comments. I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.